The summer air in New Seagate, thick with the scent of spices and the brine of the sea, often felt less like a breath and more like a shroud. 2 miles east, beyond the meticulously planned grandeur of the Azure Quarter, the fenward reach lay low and damp, a necessary blight on the city's ambition. Elias Thorne, once a respected tide warden, now watched the shifting tides of the Sorrow Mire from his porch, the pilings beneath his cabin groaning softly like old bones. He nursed a glass of thin bog water, the amber liquid reflecting the hazy late-afternoon sun that struggled through the perpetual haze. The city's triumphant clanging of ship bells and distant market cries seemed a world away, a melody of hubris. The whispers from the reach had reached him, though, seeping through the mud and mist. The Dredge Mother, they called it, a monstrous creature dragging travelers into the murky depths. Then Mara Volkov arrived. Her fine wool coat, slightly damp, carried the faint, expensive scent of the city, yet her sharp face was etched with the raw worry of the reach. She leaned against his railing, her gaze sweeping the oppressive expanse of the bog.
"They say it's the marsh claiming its due, Thorne. But Tomas wouldn't wander. He was too careful."
Her brother, a surveyor, had vanished. She spoke of a map case scattered at the mire's edge and a last notation, "Stone that breathes." Elias felt the familiar chill of the mire's silent invitation. Elias, moved by Mara's quiet desperation and the unsettling phrase, "stone that breathes," agreed to her plea. He knew the mire's temper, its ancient secrets, better than any city dweller. Mara, pragmatic and resourceful, had already sought out Dalton Fellwinter, a mercenary of gruff demeanor but reputable skill, whose hardened exterior belied a deep-seated desire for purpose. Dalton, assessing the small bag of coin Mara offered and sensing the genuine fear in her eyes, accepted the contract. He packed his weathered gear with an almost ritualistic focus, each movement economical and precise. Mara also managed to secure the assistance of Willow Larkspur, a quiet but intensely capable herbalist, whose knowledge of the mire's flora was unmatched. Willow, ever curious about the mystical world and its connection to her craft, saw this as an opportunity to further her unique remedies. She moved with a calm demeanor, her eyes always scanning the natural world around her. Caelan Thorne, Elias's observant kin, a rogue with an independent spirit and a knack for reading situations, decided to shadow the group, drawn by the scent of potential intrigue or profit, though he kept his distance for now. The summer sun, normally a harbinger of warmth and vitality, felt oppressive here, its light filtered through the humid air and the thick canopy of cypress, creating a perpetual twilight. The slow, rhythmic clang of New Seagate's great clock tower, a sound of distant order, grew fainter with every step they took from the paved Royal Road, swallowed by the rising cacophony of the marsh. Their journey began the next morning, as the dew-soaked reeds reflected a sickly yellow dawn, a landscape alien to the city's ambition. For 3 days, the small party ventured deeper into the Sorrow Mire, the persistent dampness clinging to their clothes and skin. Each morning broke with a muted, humid light, the air thick with the buzzing of unseen insects and the sweet, cloying decay of marsh flora. Dalton, ever vigilant, scouted ahead, his heavy boots making soft, sucking sounds in the muck. Willow Larkspur, with her meticulous knowledge, guided them along what she claimed were the least treacherous paths, identifying medicinal herbs and poisonous plants with equal ease. She collected samples, her quiet curiosity unwavering, even as the mire's oppressive silence grew more profound. Mara, though less accustomed to the physical rigors, pushed through, her worry for Tomas a relentless spur. Elias, the tide warden, observed everything: the subtle shifts in water levels, the unnatural stillness of certain pools, the telltale shredded reeds that spoke of massive force. The second night, gathered around a small, smoky fire, the air still and heavy, Dalton shared stories of past campaigns, his gruff voice a comfort against the mire's vast quiet. Elias recounted legends of the breather stone, tales of ancient beings slumbering beneath the bog. On the fourth day, the mire began to reveal its terrible secret. They found the salt pan construction, a crude, half-abandoned excavation dangerously close to what Elias identified as a subterranean river. The ground, churned and destabilized, had indeed begun to sink, creating new, treacherous channels for the mire's waters. The creature wasn't just hunting, it was being driven out, its ancient home threatened. Nearby, they discovered a clearing marked with crude, unsettling symbols, remnants of animal sacrifices, the tainted offering. A fringe element, surely, trying to appease the mire with desperate, misguided tributes. Kalen, who had been stealthily observing them from the periphery, finally revealed himself, emerging from a clump of willows with a wry, knowing smirk. He had seen Master Lysian's legions aid a construction site, confirming the alchemist's interest in the creature's unique biology. The mire, it seemed, was not merely an adversary, but a victim, its ancient foundations disturbed by human greed, its anger now rising with its waters.
The fifth day dawned with a rare, vibrant clarity, the early summer sun painting the eastern sky in hues of rose and gold, only to be quickly swallowed by the rising mist of the mire.
Elias led them to the coordinates Tomas had scrawled, deep in a section of the bog where the cypress trees grew gnarled and ancient, their roots like grasping claws in the opaque water. The air grew heavy, thick with the smell of wet earth and something ancient, something that pulsed beneath the surface. Dalton moved with heightened caution, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword, his keen eyes scanning for any disturbance. Willow Larkspur knelt by the water's edge, touching a patch of unnaturally still water, her brow furrowed in concentration. Then they saw it. Not a stone, but a colossal, calcified shell, half submerged, rising from the mire like a petrified island. It was immense, a monument to a forgotten age, its surface covered in iridescent moss that seemed to undulate faintly, the stone that breathes. It was the remains of a primordial leviathan, its slumber disturbed by the relentless dredging. Suddenly, a ripple, then a monstrous form erupted from the water nearby, a mass of green-black scales and thrashing limbs. The Dredge Mother. It was not a mindless beast, but a creature of formidable intelligence, its eyes, dark as peat, fixed on them with a territorial fury. It was guarding the ancient shell, its inherited territory, its ancestor. Kalen Thorne, having observed the creature from a safe distance, whistled softly, a sound of grudging admiration. The confrontation was not a battle of hunter and hunted, but of two worlds colliding. The creature's roars echoed across the still water, a primal sound that shook the very ground. Dalton, ever pragmatic, drew his sword, but Elias raised a hand, his gaze fixed on the breather stone. The mire was rising, not just because of the construction, but because its heart, this ancient leviathan, was finally stirring in its long, slow death. The confrontation with the Dredge Mother was brief, a tense standoff rather than a bloody battle. Elias, understanding the creature's territorial nature and the disturbance wrought by the salt pan construction, conveyed a plea of retreat, a silent promise to rectify the human encroachment. Dalton, his sword still drawn but his stance less aggressive, trusted Elias's judgment. Willow Larkspur gathered unique samples of the mire's disturbed flora, already formulating ideas for new, potent remedies, her mind buzzing with the secret she had gleaned. Mara, though still grieving for Tomas, understood the creature was not a simple monster, but a force of nature reacting to a wound inflicted upon its ancient home. The party retreated, the Myers' profound silence returning as they left the colossal shell. The journey back to New Seagate was tinged with a solemn understanding. The humid summer nights, once filled with the promise of communal fairs and bountiful harvests, now held a new, uneasy quiet. The distant clang of the city's clock tower seemed less a beacon of order and more a reminder of human ambition encroaching upon ancient forces. Dalton, though mercenary by trade, felt a flicker of purpose beyond mere coin. Protecting the balance, perhaps, was a cause worthy of his dedication. Caelan Thorne, ever the opportunist, vanished into the city's shadows, undoubtedly richer in knowledge, if not coin, his mind already spinning new schemes around Master Lycian's inquiry. Back in the Fenward Reach, as the sun began its slow descent, painting the western sky in fiery hues, Elias Thorne watched the mire, knowing that while the immediate threat might have receded, the true beast was human greed, and the mire, in its patient, unyielding way, would always claim its due.